Hello, people. Um, this is something I'm doing for the first time, so please bear with me. But I just had the nudge to share something interesting with you, something that I found out while reading the Word, and it is a story you're familiar with. But I'm going to retell the story to you and just give you something that really shocked me. So basically, I'm taking this from the book of Joshua. Um, and this episode starts from okay, Moses had just died and commissioned Joshua to lead the Israelites on the journey to the to the promised land. So this is the crossover. So God definitely is with Joshua and giving him instruction on how to go. But this is the interesting part. So this is the backstory in my head. Okay, I'm a very visual person. And I think this is one of the reasons why it has taken me so long to finish the Bible, because when I start reading, I just get to this point where I stop and I start daydreaming and I start recreating stories and just like, oh wow, and I never come back to that passage again because I just get lost in my own world thinking. So this happened too, and when I was just reading, I was just like, oh wow, like, what could be happening at that world at that time. And I picture like, yeah, because you see in the passage where Joshua sends two spies, to spy the land, one more time. Thank God for Joshua learning from what Moses did, like sending 10 and only 2 came back with a positive message. But this time Joshua sent just 2, and they had an encounter with Rahab, that's another story entirely. And they come back, but the one interesting information that I got was that Rahab told them like, yeah, we heard about you guys and we are mighty scared, like we are terrified with you know with your journey and your God, and we are so scared, like. And you see that play out. So I figure that at that point, like every king that has the interest of his people, or every protective king will have sent spies to keep track of the journey of the Israelites through the desert on their way to the promised land. Because they want to have information. That's the only way Rahab could have had that information to give to the spies. So definitely, the world is watching the Israelites marching. The world is watching this massive population moving towards them. So this is the beautiful part. In Joshua 3, we see the Israelites get to the bank of the Jordan, the River Jordan, and the River Jordan is so massive. You need to just check it out. Like it's quite a big river, and the Lord gives them the instruction to carry the ark. The priest carry the ark, and the moment they touch the edge of the river, it stops flowing from two ends, from its upward source and its downward. It just stops, and right there, they walk through the dry land. So this is me just thinking in my head, like, I'm sure, like, before that time, there's no technology at that time, so there's no, like, Instagram live, or to keep track, like, sending videos. But I'm sure, at that time, the generals of the Amorites, of the Canaanites, all these kingdoms will have been having like security meetings, meetings after meetings, like, how do we stop these guys, like, what is their power, like, how did they get these things. And I'm sure they must have gotten to the point where they're asking themselves, like, definitely they cannot cross the Jordan, like, it would take them years, like, they probably have to make boats or ships and everything, and they don't have those kind of resources in their area. So how will they cross the River Jordan? So this is me thinking, so for the enemies, for the Amorites and the kingdoms, sitting waiting, and their generals making all these decisions, and the spies giving them reports, like maybe sending like birds giving reports on the journey of the Israelites. The big question probably would have been, how will they cross the River Jordan? Like, definitely this must be their stopping point. Like, definitely they probably will never be able to get past the Jordan. So, but this is now me trying to get into the minds of the entire world watching the Israelites at this point. Like, and the moment the Jordan parts, and and the entire nation begins to cross. This is me thinking, like, for the whole world watching at that time, what would be their reaction? Like, how is this happening? How is this happening? How is this happening? I can imagine the terror. I can imagine the panic, with the spies having to quickly dash down or send information to their kings, to their generals. Like, you cannot believe it. Like, if this was current day, I can imagine CNN, like, breaking news. The Israelites are crossing. They're crossing over. I cannot believe. I can imagine. I can imagine the tons of reports. Like, how is this possible? How on earth is this possible? This defies every science we know. This blah 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 blah. Because the world does not understand the way of God and the power of Yeshua. But right there, I'm sure the reason why God even did that spectacular miracle was to prove to the world watching. Because definitely the world was watching. It was to prove to the world watching, like, yo, you don't know what's coming for you. So the entire nation crosses the Jordan. I can imagine how long it must have taken that entire day to cross the Jordan. And they cross, you see in chapter 3, and they crossed the Jordan. Now this is the part that just hit me, like, what? In chapter 4, Joshua chapter 4 verse 1. No, let me start with the last verse in Joshua 3. Meanwhile, the priests who were carrying the ark of the Lord's covenant stood on dry ground in the middle of the riverbed as the people passed by. They waited there until the whole nation of Israel had crossed the Jordan on dry ground. The ark is God's presence. It's a symbolism of God's presence. So it means that God was standing present in the middle of the seemingly impossible situation. Because to the whole world, to physics, to science, to everything that makes sense, it was impossible. But the moment God stepped in, everything that seemed rational to the human logic was flawed. So I'm thinking, like, what situation are you in right now? Even globally, what situation are we in right now? We're in a pandemic situation where COVID-19 is ravaging the world. Economy is crashing. The governments of the world are trying to find solution, and everybody's turning to God. And just imagine when God shows up. When God shows up. Now go back to chapter 4, verse 1. When all the people had crossed the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Now choose 12 men, one from each tribe. Tell them, take 12 stones from the very place where the priests are standing in the middle of Jordan. Carry them out and pile them up at the place where you will camp tonight." At every time where you go through difficult moments, when God shows up and you have victory, it will always give you testimony. Something that you take from that journey, something that you take from that spectacular encounter as a memorial. So even with this COVID-19 situation, I believe that there's something spectacular that we're going to take as a memorial from this whole situation. And I'm trying to find a particular verse. Okay. So, this is the interesting part. So, I hope you're tracking with me in this story. I said quite a lot. But I think the whole essence of what I'm saying if you're following with, if you're tracking with me, is when we face difficult moments, it is an opportunity for God to show His might. Imagine a woman who has a husband who holds a black belt in karate or in kung fu. I'm sure the man will always be looking for one day where he will have to defend his wife and defend his family. Then all the years of training will just show up like, yeah. So God is always excited to flex His muscle for us. He's always excited to step in and show us that He cares. So I believe that, I'm not saying that God is the one that brought this thing to us, or like this chaos, this whole plague is from God. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, God seizes moments like this to prove to the whole world that He is God. Joshua chapter 4, I'll take from 23. It says, "For the Lord your God dried up the river right before your eyes, and He kept it dry until you were all across, just as He did at the Red Sea when He dried it up until we had all crossed over." He did this, verse 24. He did this so all the nations of the earth might know that the Lord's hand is powerful, and so you might fear the Lord your God forever. He did this so all the nations of the earth might know that the Lord's hand is powerful, and so you might fear the Lord your God forever. My prayer today is that, Jesus, let the whole world know that you are God. Let the whole world know that you are God. I don't know how this pandemic will end. I'm sure everyone is praying and everyone is trusting for a vaccine to come up. And my heart goes to people my heart goes to everyone who has been hit by this, in a crazy way. Like, for those who have lost family, lost close ones, lost friends, lost jobs, lost their livelihood. Like I'm so sorry that is happening right now, and that is so painful. But I also know that in this situation, that God is going to prove Himself mighty. Like, even for those who are looking for the world, for the people, for the Amorites, for the Canaanites of this world, who are watching and saying, how will they get past this? How will they survive this? This is definitely they've made their end. Definitely this is the point. This is the point where they can't get beyond this. This is where we get to be safe. Newsflash. We have a God who is mighty. We have a God, the crossover King. We have a God that will defy science to prove that He is God. And I believe that Jordan effect, that the world in this present season will experience the River Jordan effect, where out of nowhere, this seemingly insurmountable mountain will be leveled, and the name of God will be exalted. Will be exalted. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, come let the whole world know that you are God. Jesus, Jesus.